Whiskey run on empty, now I'm on a roll. Same old road, but it's a different glow. Ain't nothing crazy, just a shift in gears. Funny how it all got clear. Used to think I had to chase the high. Now it finds me every time I try. Didn't see it coming like this. Now I'm right in the middle of it. I ain't saying I got it all, but I ain't missing what I thought. It's getting better than it should be. Little too good for a guy like me. Every door I used to push won't budge. Now they're opening up easy. Yeah, it's better than it used to feel. Like I finally got something real. If this is luck, I won't outrun what's finally right, what I've become. Too good, too right, can't lie, can't lie, can't lie. Too good, can't lie, can't lie, can't lie. Ain't even gotta try. Used to trip on every little thing, now I let it ride, let it breathe. Got a way of working out somehow, even when I don't figure it out. Got my hands where they need to be on the wheel, not chasing what I don't need. Everything just falls in place when you quit trying to race. I ain't saying it's perfect now, but I wouldn't change it out. It's getting better than it should be. Little too good for a guy like me. Every door I used to push won't budge. Now they're opening up easy. Yeah, it's better than it used to feel. Like I finally got something real. If this is luck, I won't outrun what's finally right, what I've become. Too good, too right, can't lie, can't lie, can't lie. Too good, can't lie, can't lie, can't lie. Didn't flip a switch, didn't make a scene. Just woke up living in a better dream. Now I don't chase what I can't keep. Got everything that's chasing me. It's getting better than it should be. Little too good for a guy like me. Every door I used to push won't budge. Now they're opening up easy. Yeah, it's better than it used to feel. Like I finally got something real. If this is luck, I won't outrun what's finally right, what I've become. Too good, too right, can't lie, can't lie, can't lie. Too good, can't lie, can't lie, can't lie.
Good evening and welcome to Apex News Above the Noise. I am Kyle Thompson.
And I'm Craig Blanton.
Hey, Craig, you know, today was a little chilly here in the capital city of Kentucky after the rain brought things in. So I know here on the east side of the capital city, it is a little chilly. How is it over there on the west side?
Guaranteed chilly. It's I'll look and tell you the temperature while we're talking, but
Yeah. Well,
with my weather station outside, you know, CBNN's weather station.
that's right. Well, and people always tune in to find out what the weather is like down. What is 63? Yeah. Well, I know that you will update everybody on that as well. We have a packed show as we always do, Craig, and we're going to talk about the Supreme Court. We're going to talk about Florida redistricting. We're going to talk about the Fed chair, and we'll obviously talk about UK basketball and a whole lot more. We'll have some breaking news that's just coming across the wire right now regarding the University of Kentucky basketball. But tonight, we will start with a major Supreme Court ruling that could reshape congressional redistricting across the country and could dramatically weaken one of the central tools of the Voting Rights Act. In a 6-3 decision, right down party lines, issued today, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down Louisiana's congressional map that created a second majority black congressional district. The case is Louisiana versus Calais, and the court held that Louisiana's remedial map relied too heavily on race and violated the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. Here's the setup, Craig. After the 2020 census, Louisiana drew a congressional map with only one majority black district out of 6, even though black residents made up roughly 1/3 of Louisiana's population. Civil rights plaintiffs challenged that map under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, arguing it diluted black voting power. A federal court agreed that Louisiana likely needed a second district where black voters had meaningful opportunity to elect their preferred candidate. So Louisiana went back and created a new map known as SB 8 with a second majority black district. That district helped elect Democrat Cleo Fields to Congress, but then a different group of voters challenged the new map, arguing that the state had gone too far and had racially gerrymandered the district. That put the state in a legal vice. One court said Louisiana had to do more to comply with the Voting Rights Act, and then the other one said that they went too far and the fix it was actually unconstitutional. What the court ruled today is pretty specific. Justice Samuel Alito wrote for the conservative majority. The court said Louisiana could not justify drawing the second majority black district because the Voting Rights Act did not actually require that specific race-conscious map. In plain English, the court said compliance with the Voting Rights Act does not give states a blank check to sort voters by race. The majority left standing the lower court ruling that blocked Louisiana from using that map in future elections. The practical effect is that Louisiana may now have to redraw again. They're going to have to, and the second majority black district could disappear. In the dissent, Justice Elena Kagan, joined by Justice Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson, dissented. The liberal justices warned that the ruling sharply weakened Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, the key remaining federal protection against voter dilution after earlier Supreme Court rulings had already limited other parts of the law. Reuters has reported that Kagan said the ruling made Section 2 almost a dead letter. Civil rights groups were blunt. The NAACP, Legal Defense Fund, and ACLU both said the ruling eviscerates Section 2 and opens the door for states to enact maps that weaken minority representation.
Well, I don't know nothing about this, and since we're practicing journalism, I'll just read the headlines from CNN, Fox, and AP, and you can tell about the ramifications from California to Texas to Florida, New York, all the New England states. But CNN said Supreme Court limits reach of the Voting Rights Act. Fox News said Supreme Court rules on key Voting Rights Act as Republicans and Democrats wage redistricting war. And the AP said Supreme Court ruling weakens a key tool of the Voting Rights Act.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about this is bigger than Louisiana, and obviously timing is interesting with this. However, I will say that when the arguments before the Supreme Court occurred several months ago, it became very clear that the conservative majority were uncomfortable with continuing Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Essentially, that section of the Voting Rights Act essentially said that you could redistrict based upon racial makeup of a district. The Associated Press reported this afternoon that nearly 70 of the 435 congressional districts were protected or influenced by Section 2 principles. Now, that's a lot, Greg. That's 1/6 of your total.
Right.
And the court has now made it harder to defend or create minority opportunity districts. Republican-led states, in particular, may have more room to redraw maps before future elections. And politically, this could matter immediately. Louisiana's second majority black district leaned Democratic. Removing it could help Republicans in the fight for control of the U.S. House. More broadly, the ruling may invite challenges to black and Latino opportunity districts across the South and in California, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and obviously Florida and Louisiana, as discussed. So the key question tonight is, did the Supreme Court stop unconstitutional racial gerrymandering, or did it gut one of the last meaningful protections of the Voting Rights Act? I think both sides are going to claim victory. Well, I shouldn't say they're going to claim victory. Both sides are going to, the Republican sides are going to say that they got it right, and that the Democrat side is absolutely going to say that this is a final death knell for the Voting Rights Act. The conservative side of Congress and across the country will say that the Voting Rights Act was created specifically to allow for Black and Latino districts, minority districts, to have proper representation. The question then becomes, now that we are 60 years past that, um, is it okay to continue to gerrymander and redistrict these areas to allow only Black and Latino representatives from these areas?
Well, will this just affect the ones that this has recently been going on in the Trump term, or will it go to like the New England states where they've basically gerrymandered Republicans out of even a shot of winning an election?
Well, I tell you what it truly does is it affects California, it affects Arizona, it affects Florida, and perhaps in different ways, because you know, the interesting thing about the way California is gerrymandered is that they obviously have minority specific areas where they are only electing minorities on a regular basis, whether it's Black or Latino. And this, essentially, it sounds like they could challenge any district that was drawn in that manner.
Who is they?
That's a good question, because in this particular case, it was the RNC, and it was individuals from Republican leadership in Louisiana that challenged this. So essentially, I mean, remember, the RNC is uh, who fought the battle in Virginia at this point, that brought the actions that essentially said, what the new Virginia map is unconstitutional, and that's what started the mess in Virginia now. So at this point, I think anybody in those districts could theoretically bring an action to say that these are racially gerrymandered districts and they need to be redistricted. That makes things even crazier than they were going into the redistricting efforts that started in Texas 6 months ago.
What does this put it to rest, or will there just be 20 times more lawsuits than there are today, or 50 times more?
I think you will see lawsuits filed this evening and tomorrow in areas that already have racially gerrymandered districts, and I think that what you will see in other states, in our second story that we're going to get to in a second, what you're going to see in other states like Florida, they're going to feel empowered to go ahead and change the district and the redistricting for congressional maps, and they're going to essentially say, we can't, we're going to follow the Supreme Court ruling and their guidance, and they told us that we can't racially gerrymander. So hey, Miami and those areas that are always very strongly Latino voters, we're going to change that. And I think you're going to look at other areas that are urban areas that are traditionally minority representatives, and in red states, conservative states, they're going to immediately move to redistrict to say, hey, we understand that we're in mid census right now, but the Supreme Court said so, and so we're going to follow that. I think it almost gives them more power to go ahead and do that.
Well, what do you think about Hakeem Jeffries yesterday threatening DeSantis? I mean, the House Democrat minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, threatening DeSantis, the governor of Florida, and then today, California Governor Newsom threatened DeSantis again. Why are they doing that, since they've already done the same thing themselves?
Well, they knew what was happening, and then because they knew that today or this week, the Florida legislature was going to move to change the congressional map in Florida, and I think they were trying to get ahead of that story, and that takes us right into our second story. The political war over congressional lines is officially on. On Wednesday, the Florida legislature approved a sweeping new congressional redistricting map backed by Ron DeSantis, sending it to the governor's desk for signature. And the map could produce as many as 4 additional Republican seats in Congress. That's a massive swing in a chamber where control of the House is often decided by just a handful of seats. You have a potential of 5 seats in Texas. You have a potential of 4 seats in Florida. You now have this congressional district in Louisiana. So that's 10 vote swing. So you do have areas like California who have already voted to change their map. The difference between some of these states who have been allowed to do this and some that have not is that in Florida, you do not have a constitutional amendment that is necessary to change their their redistricting, essentially. In Virginia, you had to have an amendment that passed that allowed for a mid-census change of the districts. And because they went through that process, and remember, it was essentially struck down, held in abeyance at this point. Um, and that election has not been certified because of the wording of that amendment language. So that's the difference, and that's why Florida can do it, and some of these other states can't.
Well, in Florida did it strong because the vote was 83 to 28. And one of the funny things was Representative Angie Nixon, while the vote was going on, she had a pink bullhorn and she's walking up and down the aisle. I don't know what she's saying, but she was doing that during the entire vote to try to disrupt it, I guess. And, not a good look.
It's
when you lose a vote 83 to 28.
It's not. And I will say this, the Democrats in the House will say, the Republicans started this mess. This started decades ago,
right.
In the Northeast, and then Illinois, which is the most gerrymandered state there is, and then obviously California. California is we always talk about it being the left coast, but it is 57 to 43%, and they essentially want to take away all the voting rights of 25 million people out there. So
in California's landmass, if you look at it, they've got huge districts that are Republican registered.
Northern California.
Yeah, but the Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Francisco, by just their sheer population, is why California's Democrat.
Yeah. The speed here is what has shocked a lot of political observers. According to the Associated Press, DeSantis unveiled the map just 2 days ago, which is when Hakeem Jeffries made his unwise decision to make a threat. And then today, you have Governor Gavin Newsom out of California threatening a former member of the United States military who could care less what they think. And he rushed it through a special session. The special session started this week. And today, both chambers passed it largely along party lines, but it did pass 83 to 28 in the House. Their House is very similar to the Kentucky House. And then the Florida Senate passed it 21-17. That's lightning fast for something this politically explosive. And the substance is even bigger than the speed. Florida currently has a congressional delegation that breaks roughly 20 to 8 with Democrats. The new map is projected. Now, it's projected to create a 24 to 4 Republican advantage, dramatically altering the makeup of Florida's representation in Washington. And how they did it is a little interesting. The map redraws several Democrat-leaning metro areas, which include, and this will make sense to you, Orlando and Central Florida, the Tampa-St. Pete area, and then South Florida, Broward, Palm Beach corridor, that area right there. So several Democratic-held seats are either dismantled, heavily reconfigured, or made substantially more Republican. Analysts say incumbents in multiple districts could suddenly be in real danger. There is also major controversy surrounding districts involving minority representation, particularly Black majority or coalition districts. And that's where today's earlier Supreme Court ruling really comes back into play. When I was going to the office early this morning, this ruling comes out, and as that ruling comes out, 2 hours later, the Florida congressional districts are changed. I do not think that was by mistake.
No. And the Florida, it's got a large Latin population. California's, I looked it up, it's around 41% Latin. So they're going to be represented.
They are. I think the difference, though, in Florida and California is in Florida, there is a large group of individuals in the Latino population who vote conservative, who vote right, whereas opposed in California, it's a lot different.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting as can be to follow this along because, it's like breaking news every 2 hours on this voting district stuff.
It really is, and what you have now is you have a situation where, like in Virginia, where it's 6-5, they were trying to essentially switch 4 seats as well, but because of the way their state constitution is, it's going to prevent them from getting that done in time, especially for these midterms that are coming in right now. And I think
from the most fairly represented state at 6-5 to Democrat domination of 10-1.
Yeah, in a state that is essentially 50-50.
Yeah, and it's a purple state every year, and, um, let's see, uh, Minnesota and Michigan, have they done that? I don't think have
They
they?
they have not, and Minnesota would be very difficult because their House, is literally divided 50-50. I mean, it's
Yeah, yeah.
50% Republican, 50%
Well,
Democrat.
it's gonna be interesting to watch.
It is, and the national picture comes into focus, a little bit more because of this, because essentially, uh, Louisiana opened the door and Florida sprinted right through it. I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, this will go down in history books as something that happened
and
so quickly.
the Constitution doesn't allow, the executive branch to just divide the country up by
No,
750,000 to make it fair, it's just a geographical, uh,
it is
split
geographic.
versus this gerrymandering that Congress does.
It gives the powers to the state, and so when you're dealing with, uh, the powers of the states, the individual states can make a determination about how they want their congressional districts
Yeah, I
to look.
wish we had a map of, we'll do it next time we talk about this, but get the map of Illinois, and it's a crazy map.
I love the squigglies and everything.
Yeah, right,
I
it's
did read
amazing.
I did read earlier this week that somebody said, "Well, Kentucky's first district is like that too," and to an extent it is. However, you also have to understand that there has to be proportionality of
Right,
you have to have an exact number of people in your state represented as well. So, I think it's around 750,000
right,
people
that's what
in
it
a
is,
district. So,
and with Owensboro and Louisville, to our west and Lexington to our east, we're kinda in a dead zone,
we really are. And
on the
look,
congressional map.
and look, the Republicans took control of the House in Kentucky, and that was something that they have control over right now. They protected Andy Barr's seat in the 6th district, which we were in.
Mhm,
Now we're in the 1st district, which connects all the way down to the southern border into Western Kentucky, which is strongly red. That's Jamie Comer's district, and
right,
that's probably 65 to 70% Republican in that area. And I will say this: if folks in Kentucky don't like the congressional map, the only way to change it is to change the composition of the state house, and
yep,
that would
that's
change
it,
it. So
yep,
if other red states follow this lead, I know there are areas right now. I know that we have heard that Georgia is considering this. North Carolina has already um, presented the option to change their congressional map. There's another one right there. Georgia is talking about changing one more. I know Missouri could have changed theirs and chose
they
not
chose
to.
not to, yeah,
So I mean, I think that there's real contestation that will come down with the Supreme Court making this ruling today, and where we go from here.
yeah,
So
that's all I know about it. And
that's a lot.
we're gonna practice journalism.
We
I'm
are.
not gonna fake
Yep.
like I know what I'm talking about, because in this stuff, not on the Supreme Court stuff, not a clue, and you being a good lawyer, uh, that's why we go to you.
Well, I've been blessed to be sworn into the United States Supreme Court. So
Yeah, I
we will.
knew that.
Yeah. So, staying in Washington, while Republicans are aggressively consolidating power, Democrats tonight are dealing with something just as dangerously political, a civil war inside their own party. One of the Democrat Party's top national officials publicly unloaded on one of the party's highest profile senators this week, and it's reigning speculation now. It's reigniting speculation, excuse me, that Senator John Fetterman could eventually walk away from the Democratic Party altogether. The sharp attack, it's not a shark attack, that'd be weird. Land
Yeah.
sharp attack came from the DNC Vice Chair Malcolm Kenyatta, who posted on X today, and I quote, "Almost every day now, my U.S. Senator comes on this site to attack his constituents and many people who worked hard to elect him. You're a mess," at John Fetterman. That's not some random activist. That is the national Democratic leadership publicly torching one of their own sitting U.S. senators.
Right, and call him a miss.
Yeah, and why this matters is Fetterman has increasingly broken with Democrats on several high-profile issues, including strong support for Israel, more hawkish rhetoric on Iran, open criticism of progressive Democrats, calls for bipartisan cooperation with Republicans, and public comments that Democrats are increasingly driven by anti-Trump politics rather than governing vision. That has made him politically homeless inside part of his own party. So now here's the question. Could he switch? There's no indication today, and you're going to talk about what you saw today, but there's no indication today that Fetterman is planning on becoming a Republican. But politics is about incentives. If Democratic leadership keeps isolating him, and if Pennsylvania Democrats begin openly recruiting a primary challenger, which they are, Fetterman
They
could
are doing it.
Fetterman could gain leverage by becoming an independent or in a true political earthquake, switching parties. And if Republicans were to pick up a democratically held Senate seat that way, that changes committee control, voting math, and the national political map overnight. If he were to switch,
And Supreme Court justice.
yeah, and if he were to switch to the Republican side, I would almost bet the house that the Republicans could keep the Senate at that point.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's enough in play this time, and at that point, I think he would be safe. But here's the interesting thing: when John Fetterman came into the Senate, Republicans were the one who were saying, "What are you doing, Pennsylvania? How are you not electing Dr. Oz? How are you not electing, someone who is more middle of the road?" I mean, he had a very democratic socialist type background in his background. He was very big on social programs, but now you have a situation where Republicans are going, he kind of makes a lot of sense. I like what he says, and Democrats are now dogging him.
Yeah, today on Fox, he was interviewed, and they were talking about all the different things. The one thing that really set him off yesterday was when he wanted to have the federal government pay for the Trump ballroom versus the political donors after the assassination attempt the other day. He wants to go on and get it going. But so that drove him nuts yesterday. And then when he was on Fox today, he said, "I'm not going to switch Republican because I've got problems with their policies. But on the same hand, I got problems with Democrat policies too."
Yeah.
And another quote, he says, "After witnessing last night, which was the assassination night, drop the TDS and build the White House ballroom for events exactly like this," Fetterman declared on X. So that's just got him. That's got him going bonkers. That's why Malcolm Kenyatta called him a mess, which that's a pretty bad thing to criticize him, because Democrats used to criticize Republicans for talking about Fetterman when he was healing from a stroke.
Right. Well, and just like it says on the screen, this is not in a vacuum. Malcolm Kenyatta ran against Fetterman in the 2022 Democratic U.S. Senate primary. So it's clear that there's animus, not just because of his particular politics, but he didn't win that seat, and now he's part of the DNC activities. I don't know that the DNC holds a lot of power right now. I mean, they're not the ones who are going to win these small House seats. I just don't believe that. It's those who are more moderate in these areas, and those who are leaning on DNC policies. And we've talked about this with Governor Andy Beshear here in Kentucky. They tend to be going far left, and that is not what a majority of this country is looking for.
Yeah, when you got the leadership pushing these people to the left to get their base, they've got a base of 30% of 35% far lefties that will vote, just like Trump's got his base of 30 to 35% that will vote conservative all the time. So they're
Full
building
MAGA.
up. Yeah,
Full
they're
MAGA.
building. Do what?
Full MAGA.
Yeah, full MAGA. Yeah, and so they're doing the middle, and that's why I've said 100 times, if Andy Beshear would quit bashing Trump and just go straight up the middle, he would have a shot. Not a shot. He would win the Democrat primary. But he's first, because I guess that's where the money's at.
Yeah,
DNC's going to give him money as it gets rolling, and he cannot pull away from those guys if he wants any of that money.
If he went hard to the middle and told folks his positions and how he would do things differently, he would be not only, I believe, just like you do, the presumptive favorite to win the nomination, but he would be a difficult out for J.D. Vance or whoever gets the nomination. I mean, he would be a formidable opponent when it comes down to the national election.
Because so many people now are registering as independents.
It's the first time that independents, outnumber both parties.
Yeah,
So
and that's where it's at.
it is, and it's the strangest dichotomy in this country. The majority of people want to be in the middle and independent from both of them, and yet both of the parties are going exactly to the far right and far left. It makes no sense to me at all, and I don't know. I don't know what will end up happening, but it is certainly very, very odd, to say the least.
Maybe the Earth is spinning too fast and throwing them out to the edge
Good.
and
It could
leaving the
have,
people in the middle
yeah,
circling.
yeah.
But
Well,
it's tough.
it
This
is.
yeah,
Uh,
we
it-
knew
from
this was coming.
Yeah, from political battles in Congress and inside the Democratic Party, we move on now to perhaps the most important unelected position in America's economy, the chair of the Federal Reserve. And tonight, there's major movement there as Jerome Powell is staying on at the Fed as a governor while a new chair prepares to take over. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell made news today by announcing he will remain on the Federal Reserve Board even after his term ends as chair on May 15th, saying he intends to stay on as governor while scrutiny surrounding the Fed's headquarters renovation fully clears. Reuters reported Powell said he plans to remain in a lower profile role rather than leave outright. That's significant because Powell's term as a Fed governor runs into 2028, meaning while he may no longer hold the chairman's gavel, he could still remain a voting voice. And that is a split group down there on interest rate policy and central bank decisions. The controversy with Powell stems from a Justice Department probe into cost overruns tied to the Federal Reserve's multi-billion-dollar headquarters renovation project and questions about Powell's congressional testimony regarding those costs. Last week, the DOJ formally dropped its criminal investigation after federal prosecutors reportedly found little evidence of wrongdoing. Though Inspector General review remains ongoing, Powell has framed his decision to stay as protecting institutional independence and ensuring the matter is fully resolved rather than leaving under a cloud. The new Fed chair, President Donald Trump nominated is Governor Kevin Warsh to become the next Fed chair. Warsh is viewed as more market-oriented, generally more open to rate cuts than Powell has been, something Wall Street is watching closely given persistent inflation pressures, energy shocks tied to Middle East instability, and a slowing labor market. Powell may be stepping down as chair, but he's not disappearing, Craig. And with Kevin Warsh stepping in, America could soon have a new captain at the Fed, but the old captain is going to be looking over his shoulder on the bridge. That unusual arrangement could shape interest rates, inflation policy, and market confidence for months to come. Your thoughts on Jerome Powell staying on the Board of Governors with the Fed at this point?
Well, first talking about the building you mentioned, it's $3 billion. That's the most expensive building in Washington, D.C. history. You know, Trump freaked out when he saw the numbers on it, and that's when he went and visited.
Yeah.
About 6 months ago, I think. And take that in context, that's $3 billion. And the Democrats today in the hearing all day long were questioning Pete Hegseth and General Raising Cane on the cost of the war that's so far been going on for 2 months, and it's $25 billion. So Powell is spending way more than in this period on a building for 12 guys 12 guys plus the chair, 13 people and their staff, $3 billion. But then the chair of the it's like our city commission and the mayor and the commissioners, the chair, his power of voting is no more than any of the other 12 federal governors on that committee.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be like this guy can come in and just drop the rates, because he's still going to have to rally some of the others to at least do the majority to get the rate cuts. So it's far from certain that we're going to see housing interest rate cuts anytime in the future.
Well, there are people who are calling for a half point to a point in May. I don't think that's going to happen if the Fed stays with the same, makeup that they have right now.
Which it is. Yeah.
Which is going to. I mean, obviously somebody has to bring it to the table. But you have a group of individuals on there who are not necessarily all that excited about bringing interest rates down. Why that is, I'm not sure. There are obviously different schools of thought when it comes to the economy. But back to the issue that you talked about with this building, a $3 billion budget for the Fed, the most secret organization in the entire nation too. We do not know what the budget of the Fed is, right?
And they're not controlled by anybody.
They are not controlled by anybody, yet they are funded by the federal government. Now, figure that out. And by the way, this building, the White House ballroom, is 1/10 the cost of the Fed building that you
Right.
know nothing about. Save me your exasperation and shock and being upset. If you're
Right.
upset about a ballroom and you're not on the streets, with your flags and placards because of that, I mean, that's ridiculous.
Well, and if you look back at the history of the Fed, and you're a history guy, and see if I recall this correctly, it was started by the Rockefellers and the J.P. Morgans to control Fed money, which was basically, federal money, and big bank money was basically them.
Yeah, it was a compromise.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was a compromise under Woodrow Wilson between private banking and with regard to interest rates and with government control.
Rothschild too, maybe.
Yeah, they're all involved in that. I mean, at some point, if you go down that rabbit hole, be prepared for some long history lessons, but at the same time, it will freak you out.
It's names everybody knows.
All the name, not just J.P. Morgan, which is J.P. Morgan Chase, but the Rothschilds and tons of other Rockefellers. But at the end of the day, if you're not willing to audit the Fed, if you're not willing to determine that and have any governmental control, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
And you can't blame Congress. You can't blame a president for the interest rates, and you can't blame anybody.
No,
except those 13 people.
It is the most secretive organization that controls everyone's lives. And I don't know how any way other to put it, but moving on to the next story, Craig, former FBI Director James Comey appeared in federal court Wednesday in Alexandria, Virginia, after surrendering to authorities following a federal indictment returned Tuesday in North Carolina. Prosecutors have charged Comey with threatening the President of the United States and transmitting that threat in interstate commerce. At the center of the case is an Instagram post we talked about yesterday that Comey made last year showing seashells arranged to form the numbers 8647. Federal prosecutors argue 86 is slang, meaning eliminate or get rid of, and 47 is a reference to Trump as the 47th president. Comey has strongly denied the interpretation, saying the post was political commentary, not a threat, and that he deleted it after realizing some people viewed it differently. It's interesting, though, Craig. I have to say that now people are going back and looking at when he went on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert and other things. He didn't initially come out. Yeah, he did not come out and say that it was political commentary. Originally, he said that his wife found the seashells and that they just happened to come on it, and they thought it might have been somebody's address. Gave just a really weird explanation, and everybody laughed, and it was just, it's just so silly that people would get upset. Totally changed his tune. Now he's saying that it's just political commentary. And I don't know why people tend to forget that. I mean, I guess everybody has the memory of a chicken at this point, but things just disappear off their radar. Today's appearance was very brief. Obviously, Comey did not enter a plea, answered routine procedural questions, and was released on his own recognizance without special conditions, meaning the judge did not see him as a flight risk or danger to the community pending trial. His attorney, former special counsel Patrick Fitzgerald, interesting choice, indicated the defense will argue this is selective and vindictive prosecution, essentially claiming the Justice Department is targeting Comey because of his long, very public feud with President Trump. And maybe they are. Maybe they are targeting him because Comey targeted Donald Trump.
Right. And remember the first time they met when Trump first came into office, when he was 45? Right. Comey was kind of complimentary of him, walked across the room, shook his hand, patted him on the shoulder, all that stuff. And you thought it was something good until Russia, FISA court, and all those things that have since been proven. We were called conspiracy theorists, saying it was a bunch of malarkey. And it turns out that it was a bunch of malarkey, that they paid for the Steele dossier. They lied to the FISA court, which is another secret federal government thing. And then they get these search warrants, and they go searching through every inch of Trump's house down at Mar-a-Lago, including his wife's underwear drawer and his children's clothes.
it's interesting, the argument that it's selective prosecution. That is a wild thing to say,
Yeah.
considering that all that's begging for is for the Trump administration to say, all right, we'll go after everybody then, if that's what it is.
Sure.
But
And well, before I
even
forget,
go ahead.
remember they spread all that stuff out on the floor of Mar-a-Lago,
Oh yeah,
and the world went crazy.
took all the pictures.
Then they find out Biden's got it in an open garage with no Secret Service around it. Anybody can walk in, including his son, in one of his drunken or drug-filled events, and look at all the papers that he had stored there.
Well, his Corvette
But
was
the
in there.
news media didn't go crazy. Yeah, it's where his Corvette was stored, and nobody went nuts over that. FBI didn't kick his door down.
No, and in fact, the original story of Mar-a-Lago, it disappeared because of that. It was very clear that, you're talking about selective enforcement and selective prosecution. That was clearly what they were. They sent a SWAT team to Mar-a-Lago.
Yep.
In fact, there have been discussions that the intent was to have a firefight between Secret Service and the FBI, which is just nauseating to think
Right.
that our federal government would attempt to do that at the time that they did.
And where was I recall, CNN was told that they were going to go arrest somebody or break, investigate a house at 6:00 in the morning. And CNN was notified under the Biden administration that they were going to do this. Was it General Flynn?
General Flynn General Flynn is who you're thinking of. But they were also at Mar-a-Lago, if you'll remember.
No, I remember they were all over Mar-a-Lago, but I'm just saying the Justice Department under Biden, they choreographed, because they had Hollywood telling them a whole lot of stuff to do and how to present it and make it dramatic for the evening news.
Right.
And instead of giving the Supreme Commander the opportunity to just turn himself in, they go raid his house, if that's who it was. I remember the event, but I don't remember.
It was definitely General Flynn. It was
okay. And then flip it around 180 degrees, and they're in Trump's house too in Mar-a-Lago and doing the same thing. And has Trump done any of this in this administration or his first administration back at the opposing party?
Well,
I think so.
they did get former head of not national intelligence, John, what's his name? The international policy guy. I can't think of his name.
I think I can see his face.
Yeah, they indicted him.
Ratcliffe?
No, not Ratcliffe.
He was CIA, wasn't he?
Yeah. Gosh, this is terrible. I can't think of it. But they indicted him and went to his home and arrested him. But again, the news was tipped off, and instead of going and having the film cameras up like they were going to do at Mar-a-Lago, they just tipped them off that they were coming. So it was like, the press is never right down the middle. They're never nonpartisan. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Well, and that's enough serious stuff. You ready to talk UK sports?
Yo, heck yeah. Always.
I got some more breaking news. Here we go.
Oh, cool.
Okay, let's go.
As reported 2 nights ago, Jerome Morton, not Jerome Powell, that's the Fed chair. Jerome Morton, shooting guard from GRC. He was Sweet 16 All-Star, played at GRC, originally started at Moorhead, then went to Washington State, and now is at the University of Kentucky. Jerome Morton is coming home. He has committed and signed to the University of Kentucky. There is our backup starting point guard. And as you said earlier, Craig, this is number 12 right now with regard to our team.
Yes, our 12th signee now. Still got about 3 short. But what we got this year over what we've had the last 2 years, we've got 75 points a game by taking all their previous last year's scoring totals, per game scoring totals. We've got 75 points walking in. Well, and they don't run an offense like Pope does, where it just bombs away on threes.
No, and it's interesting that you say that, because people are very critical of the folks who are coming in, but guys, 2 years ago, we had no points coming back. Last year, we essentially had about 22 points coming back. Now we have guys who have scored 63, 70 points a
Mhm.
game. And so this is a really big deal. Look, Jerome Morton is not going to beat the brakes off of anybody, but he is a solid backup that can come into the game. There were plenty of times this year where for 10
Oh,
minutes in a
God.
game, we had backups guys playing point guard that
That
had
had
no
never
business,
played it.
had never played it, and Denzel Aberdeen did a yeoman's job toward the middle and end of this season, but he had never played the point position before.
Right.
And Jerome Morton is a guard that can handle the ball and shoot. So give me that 40% behind 3-point line, and I will be happy.
And we got several guys that are 40 and above from 3-point line, from the guards all the way up to our bigs.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
that 43% that aren't afraid to shoot. They darn sure about 4 of them are not afraid to dunk from their highlights. So, with bringing in 75 points a game and then get them, give them a couple games to get your feet wet, and the freedom to bombs away from
Yeah,
3-point land. And several of these guys are 75 and 85% free throw shooters. My thing,
wouldn't that be
I'm
nice?
always wanting good free throw shooters on the team.
Late in the game, if you can, you're not worried that these guys are going to hit shots,
Yeah.
because
We got 4 guys out there shooting over 70%.
yeah,
Who they gonna foul?
yeah, exactly. After Kentucky missed on the biggest fish in the class in Tyron Stokes, Pope barely spent 24 hours licking his wounds before hopping on a plane and taking Kentucky recruiting battle overseas. Now the Wildcats may be chasing something just as valuable, an immediate front court help with pro experience. Right now, Kentucky head coach Mark Pope is in Israel, where he's meeting with Marcio Santos, a Brazilian professional big man currently playing for Maccabi Tel Aviv, according to reporting from Jacob Polacek at KSR. And Craig, it's a fascinating pivot. Kentucky swung hard with Tyron Stokes, missed, and now Pope appears to be saying, that's fine. If elite American high school stars aren't coming, we'll go get a grown man who can help us now. Santos is 23 years old. He would be 24 by the time he gets to the States to play for the University of Kentucky. Santos is listed at 6'8", more like 6'9". He's 23 years old and has a real professional experience, not developmental, not potential. And this is an actual grown man playing basketball. The past season with Maccabi Tel Aviv, he has averaged 8.8 points per game, 3.9 rebounds, 1 assist, nearly 40% from 3-point range in EuroLeague play. That should get you excited. A 6'8" guy, Craig, who can shoot the rock, and over 80% at the free throw line.
Which is my favorite thing.
Yeah, that jumps off the page because it screams Mark Pope, big man. Even if he's a backup to Malachi Moreno, this is what you need right here.
We take Moreno out and then put somebody in that's got 30 or 40 pounds on Moreno.
Yep.
What are you going to do? We're going to be able to bang underneath. Players are not going to be able to knock us over.
Yep.
We'll have plenty of players that are, we can foul the crap out of them like Calipari did a few times. So this team is taking more shape. We've got money now that we saved that $8 or $10 million that Stokes got, or was offered, probably $8 million, and now we can pick up these last 4 players. And here's the first one.
Well, this is a Reed Travis, right here. I mean, that's what we have here. This is a situation where a guy who's not going to be beat off the ball, and he's also is not afraid to
mix it up
with you, and that's exactly what Kentucky needs. They need big bodies, but this guy's also not. Look, this guy's not afraid to dunk. I mean, we're showing highlights in the background right here, but he's not afraid to go in.
There's a good 3, and he doesn't lumber up and down the court. From the 2 highlights I've seen of him since we found out about him, that's another thing we talked about the other day. This team is going to have speed all the way around. We're going to be able to get up and down the court.
Yeah, the other news that's coming out of this visit is that Coach Pope and his team are seriously in advanced talks with UK already, extending an offer, a number, if you will, and that the commitment could come as soon as tonight. I doubt that we'll hear something tonight. It's about 11:30 over there right now. If we hadn't heard anything yet, I'd say Jerome Morton is the big news today. They'll probably let him have 24 hours in the cycle. But this is something that could really come across big. Listen, I understand that UK fans are frustrated, but let me tell you some of the insider information at this point that we are finding out about the Tyron Stokes visit to the University of Kentucky is that he signed his non-revenue sharing package with Kansas while he was in Lexington. This guy may have been a complete problem next year, and his attitude and everything that he did to string along the University of Kentucky to potentially get more money out of Kansas, Nike, any concessions out of Adidas, seems like that's exactly what it was. So listen, we understand the frustration, but let's get some guys in here who want to play as a team and not a guy who wants, he wants to score 30 points a game if he plays at all next year.
Yeah, well, and didn't he sign the NIL with Kansas about 2 months ago? When it been about 60 days? It's been that long, or my
it's a little shorter than that, but he signed the non-revenue sharing package allegedly
Mm-hmm.
while he was in Lexington. So
Yeah.
so at least 2 weeks ago,
He wasted all that.
It wasted our time and everything else. Now, I will also say that there is information out there right now that Polachek with KSR had gotten information that is exactly what happened, and that he reached out to the Mark Pope and his staff, and they refused to return his phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that's true, that's a bit damning, because you have people who potentially have your best interest at heart, and you're not willing to take that call, and that's a problem at this point. And I've said this to my guys today, is we need a general manager yesterday with this program.
Yeah.
Mark Pope is a really great guy. I've known Mark since we were in school. He's a great guy. Mark Pope is a good coach. Mark Pope is obviously not a good recruiter, Craig, and he's piecemealing a team together right here. Let's be honest, we haven't liked any. We liked the team last year. We thought we did, but then when we saw how they played,
injuries got him 2 years.
Injuries got in the way as well. But who knows what this team's going to look like? And we're obviously going to be big. I mean, our smallest guy right now is that we've recruited is about 6'3". So we're going to be big at this point. So, Craig, I guess my question to you is, did we dodge a high-speed projectile last night? And is it potentially the best thing that could happen to us? We have 12 guys on the roster right now with the potential of adding a couple more.
Well, I do think we did, because I didn't want to talk about it before, but I've seen news reports on all the various basketball blogs that I follow, the basketball groups, that in his one high school team, he didn't play a single game because and just left, and then he went to another one, and the coach set him out in the first half and didn't start him the next game, and he quit that team and then went to an AAU, Riverside, whatever it was, in California. So that, plus what Jeff Goodman has said for 2 or 3 weeks, that Stokes needs a hard coach, a Calipari, or coach at Kansas,
Bill Self.
Yeah, Self. He needs somebody like that to rein him in, because he is so flamboyant. And of course, like all these great basketball playing kids, they've been told the greatest thing since sliced bread since they're probably 7 years old.
Sure.
He got his first college offer in the 8th grade.
Yeah.
So, that's LeBron-esque when that happened. And so he's going to be good. But the coolest thing of all is we get to play him next November 10th.
We do. We absolutely do. Next November 10th. Yeah, we are going to be playing in the Champions Classic on November 10th. And I want to be clear, as a Kentucky homer, Craig, and I think I can speak for you as well, these are not sour grapes. We are looking to the bright side on this, is that, hey, we might have a whole team here that we have somebody that checks off all the boxes of, people who can score, people who can get rebounds, people who, can handle the ball, all those things that we haven't had in years past. This team may be that. And if you are going to spend $8 to $9 million on Tyron Stokes alone, you're not getting these other guys.
And we might have lost a couple of them out.
Yeah.
Waiting on Stokes, some of the guys that Pope was down to the final 2, and they went somewhere else because they thought Kentucky was just set on getting Stokes.
Yeah. And 2 nights ago, Monday night, we told you Jerome Morton was committed, that he
Yeah,
was coming.
yeah.
So stick with us. We will tell you facts. While other people are saying they're insiders, we will tell you facts. There's another development though. A lot of folks online immediately after the Tyron Stokes discussions were talking about another kid, and it's important to talk about his potential eligibility. The other development that may explain why Mark Pope is aggressively hunting front court help overseas, because one option Kentucky had been quietly monitoring now appears unlikely to happen. That's Stefan Joksimovic, the skilled Serbian-Canadian big man. He's 17 years old. Kentucky had been connected to as a possible late addition. The growing reporting around college basketball circles is that Joksimovic may not be academically eligible or may not graduate in time to enroll and play next season. I have a hard time believing that. I mean, these kids can take, all sorts of courses and get eligible. So
online.
that surprises me. But this is what we're being told from our sources, and this is also coming from folks at KSR as well, and Jack Pilgrim, effectively taking him off of Kentucky's board for this cycle unless something changes late. Multiple recruiting insiders have pointed to a timeline issue surrounding degree completion and international clearance requirements, and there's a timing issue that has to go in there rather than basketball fit. And why this matters, Joksimovic was viewed as a mature front court body, even though he's 17 years old. He is a skilled passer, but this kid is a young Steph Curry. I mean, he shoots it from everywhere, Craig. I mean, I saw stuff at, he was at the logo shooting stuff, making it. He's also a strong rebounder and a great passer, as stated. But basically, it's another type of Mark Pope big, one that is versatile, not somebody that.
But I know he was on our radar, but he wasn't. He hadn't talked a whole lot about coming to UK specifically. Is that correct?
Well, they had been in talks with his folks, and they were going to be in the mix. There were about 5 schools, and they were all the ones you typically hear, the UConn and Michigan, Duke, those schools. But I think everybody was kind of concerned, and they weren't going to waste a lot of time on this kid who may not be able to reclassify at all. And now Kentucky is they're looking at other folks, Ryan Hampton, who may reclassify at 17 years old.
And he's top 5, isn't he?
He is. And then, of course, Mark Pope, they posted today that Jack Pilgrim posted Kentucky's Mark Pope and Mikal McLean went fishing with number 20 or the 2027 number 1 recruit, CJ Rosser. Now, there's been talk that Rosser could potentially reclassify. That's something to take into consideration. I have no idea if that is even a possibility. And then there's another kid that's on the radar, Obina Akizi. He is a 7-foot 5-star center. He's a massive upside center, with some insiders think he could reclassify sooner rather than later, which would accelerate UK's timeline. They've been in talks with this guy as well. Kentucky is still squarely in the mix. However, so is those dirty birds from down the road.
Yeah.
U of L.
Is he African?
He is. And then
have you noticed how Africa is really producing a lot of good basketball players lately?
Well, yeah. I mean, they're physically they're able to compete, and it's really a popular sport in Africa at this point. A lot of these kids are playing in Euro ball right now, and really making a difference. Arkansas, BYU, and Maryland are the other schools. So we're all, obviously Maryland jumping in the game is a little interesting, but the odds are kind of moderate on that. If that were to happen, I would say that Marcio Santos is probably high interest, and I would say there's a better than 90% chance that they're going to lock him down.
And if we get if we go say 27-6, I'm just guessing. I have no idea. Just based off the points that we're bringing in the team this year, and get to the Elite 8, that's going to change a lot of players' attitudes towards coming to Kentucky, because they'll see that the team can advance. Hopefully, none of these guys get injured. Hopefully, he's been snake bit on the injuries. But if we could go through a season with these players, their point production, their free throw percentage, their aggressiveness when going to the hoop, that might turn things around for Kentucky, and let's get back to Kentucky being Kentucky.
Yeah, I think you are probably going to see, now that this Joksimovic is kind of off the board, You're going to see Kentucky tied to some EuroLeague reserve guys, some bigs, probably some guys out of the Australian NBL, they're developmental players, young
Mhm.
guys, 17, 18-year-olds who've been
Yeah,
playing in
right.
that league for the last couple of years, South American professional forwards, and maybe some older Balkan stretch bigs like this kid they're getting out of that's currently playing in Israel. And then you have these Canadian prep international hybrid prospects that are, Yaksimovic is one of those. But there's lots of names out there. Listen, I know that everybody. I love reading the posts of everybody that it's the end of the world is coming. Bunch of Chicken Littles out there.
Oh, man.
99% of everyone's off the board. No, they're not. They're really not. You don't know how many basketball players there are in the world right now. And there is another Wembanyama out there. I don't think he's coming to Kentucky, but if he's out there, they're going to find him, and you may not know about him yet. I mean, you
Right.
didn't know
Well,
about
who knew about Wemby?
right. I mean,
And
nobody.
I sent you a video of that dunk that block he did last night. My goodness.
Yeah,
I
he's
mean, it was his shoulders were above the rim, and he knocked it 15 rows into the fan seats. It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's clear that Pope is hunting older, more experienced guys in these international markets at this point. He probably feels like he needs a little bit of some leadership, a cooler head on the floor to be able to do this. And you still have the kid from Iowa State that played great against us as he always does. He's out there, and now we have $8 million available, right? I mean, we have some money freed up now. So hopefully those donors and JMI and those deals can actually happen. But if Santos lands in Lexington, fans may start feeling a lot better. Now, I know that you read his stats from the game that Pope was at, that he had 0 points. He only played
I
10
didn't want
minutes.
to talk about those.
No, but it's
one
fine.
game.
It is. It's one game. He's playing in front of a coach that he's probably very nervous about all the attention he's getting. And that's no excuse, but they're also, playing in their playoffs and things of that nature. So this is a big deal. And we have 6 months before, tip off. So let's figure it out and see where things go. But you could have a full team with really only a couple of young kids coming in from high school. This will be an experienced team, a very experienced team. And so that's something that is going to be different than years past.
Well, and we got who's Hawthorne's brother's coming. He's a walk on.
Yeah,
so that's the 12. We got a walk on counted as a 12, but they're gonna he probably get some playing time if he's tall as his brother.
Yeah,
and we talked yesterday about the fans, what their reaction would be after Stokes. And I went and watched 2 podcasts real quick, and God almighty, I was texting you.
yeah.
They were dying. I mean, the fans calling in and the fans commenting were saying, "Fire Pope now." I mean, it was like it was the end of the world not getting this one player.
Well, we get it. It would have been fun to watch him. We've had some players like that at the University of Kentucky, John Wall, Jamal Mashburn back in the day, guys who were all Americans.
James Lee back in the day.
Yeah, James Lee back in the day. Ron Mercer. I mean, I remember when Ron came here.
Mhm.
Those guys are fun to watch, but those guys weren't coming for an 8-month sabbatical like this kid is. This kid is on an 8-month vacation, an 8-month vacation where he's going to make $10 million. So
Right.
you may get nothing out of him. Maybe they'll make a run with this kid. Maybe they will. I doubt it. They don't have much. I don't think they have much of the rest of their team, but we will see. I think
And when you're already projected the number 1 pick next year before you
why
made the first dribble at Kansas, it might be, I think I might get hurt. I'm not playing any more games after I'm not coming back after Christmas.
Look at JQ. Look at Jaden Quaintance.
Right.
I mean, he was a top 5 lottery destination guy, and now he's looking for, to
He's
figure
late
out where he's
first, probably second round, and there's some boards that got him not even getting drafted, which, that doesn't mean a bad thing anymore because then you can go to any team.
right. Well,
But it just if we can go injury-free and these guys play up to 75% of last year, we're going to have a good team.
I think we will too. And you and I were talking about this last night, is that, sometimes it's hard to be positive when everybody else is being negative. But, that's the great thing about being Kentucky basketball. We have heritage and tradition. And a lot of times, many years we struggle, and we're not as happy as we should be. But man, those years that they do great, it feels pretty good to have sat through
Well,
some bad times.
I gathered another stat today from going all the way back to Patino. Pope's not doing great. Is Billy Clyde was 59.7, Pope 63.9, Patino 64.3 because he had those first couple bad years. Tubby Smith walked into an all-world team and he went 82.9, and Calipari same thing. He was a great recruiter and he was at 84.2. So
you're talking about their first 2 years of winning percentage.
First 2 years of each of those coaches. So seeing the disparity coming in because Gillespie had his own problems, and he was a tail end of Tubby, and the teams weren't that great then. And but Tubby's first years and Calipari's first years were just out of this world. 32, 33 game seasons, and almost an undefeated season against Wisconsin. So it's going to be interesting to see what next year does, because next year is Pope's make or break.
Well, it is, and I'll also repeat what I said last night, in that it could be his make or break. But at the end of the day, had he gotten Tyron Stokes and he hadn't gotten a Final Four, and Stokes had decided to sit on the bench, then he definitely would have been done.
Yeah.
So now you make a run with this guy, and what are the options at that point? Because you make a run with a bunch of guys who everyone said they weren't a good team. Well, I like those odds at this point, because there's a whole lot more pressure when you add Tyron Stokes on that board.
Well, and we got 3 good games to look for next year. Rivalry, get the fans crazy, with Louisville, Arkansas, and now Kansas. Even though they're all 3 always good games, but now with Stokes at Kansas, it's going to be another fun fan game. That's hard to say quick. Fun fan game.
Fun fan game. I think it will be fun. Kentucky will be competitive, obviously. But look, on the screen right now, Craig, is KSR has just updated the returning and incoming guys. There's your 12 players with this team. That is a tall ball club. I mean,
it is.
You're looking at guys who are big bodies, guys who like to rock the rim, and the smallest guy on that team is Trenton Noah
at 6'3", right?
At 6'3".
Yeah, so you're going to have a 6'3", 6'4" guard coming out, getting replaced by a 6'4", 6'5" guard.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had that luxury in a long time. I mean, it's been many years since being able to do it. And these guys are not bad shooters. We talk about their ability to pass and their assists and things like that, but these are good shooters. I mean, some of these inside guys, McBride and those guys, they're shooting well above 50% from the floor, and they are not just dunkers. I mean, these guys are mid-range shooters.
I wish Trent Noah would work out with Reed Shepherd.
Yeah.
Because Shepherd's first 2 years in the NBA, he couldn't get his shot off at all. And now he releases it like Steph Curry. I mean, as soon as it touches his hands, it's gone. Or he takes one step and it's gone. If Trent Noah, we know he can score because he scored 4,000 or 5,000 points in high school.
Yeah.
But he just cannot get his shot off fast enough. If we get that, then we got another good 3-point shooter.
Well, remember, we were excited that Travis Perry was coming in to Kentucky 2 years ago. We thought that was the end-all be-all, and he scored 5 points a game for Ole Miss last year. These guys are not 5 points a game shooters, right?
No,
I mean, these are elite athletes. This is already, I'm going to go ahead and say it, this is already a more talented team than Mark Pope has had. And if for any other reason, they're deeper. Because when you bring a guy on to the floor, there were several times this year where you and I were talking, we're like, who's going to score right now? Like, there's not a scorer on the court.
Right. And you got a bunch here.
Yeah, you got a ton of scorers, ton of guys who want to score, and you're not going to have any red shirt guys or anything else. I'm telling you guys, they are a couple players away from adding to this team, and you're going to have, guys who have scored double digits in their college career coming off the bench.
We got three double digit last season scores, and is Hawthorne, is he 6'11"?
Yes.
And then you got Moreno at 7 foot, and you got a couple of 6'10" guys in there. I mean, we're going to be underneath. We're going to be good.
I want everybody just to pump the brakes a little bit. Let's support the guys that we do have here. The sky is not falling, and I think next year it could be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Craig, tomorrow is something I'm looking forward to tomorrow. For those of you who are in the central Kentucky area, mainly the Franklin County area, we are going to have our local PVA, Will Rhodes, on. And we have a bunch of chatter today on social media. People are starting to get their reassessments for their real property. And just as bad as you thought the Kentucky fans were with recruiting, you should see some of the things people are saying about their assessments for their real property at this point. Will is going to come on. He's being very gracious. We are going to shoot that a little earlier than normal. We won't be live, but we will be on at 5 p.m. That's when we will air it. So he has already sent me his documents. It's going to be great. The graphics and everything are phenomenal. He's going to explain the process, and most importantly, he is going to explain the appeal process for your reassessments, which is imperative that you learn how to do that. So we will save all of that action for him to tell us what is going on and how to handle it.
And if you got any questions,
yes, absolutely, this is your opportunity.
Yeah, we'll ask them, long as they're not no crazy questions, no aggressively mean questions.
That's right.
If you got any questions, you can reach out to us on our Facebook page. A bunch of you got our phone numbers.
Absolutely.
Reach out any way you can. Messenger, Instagram. I'm even on TikTok now. Get a message to us
I get to send you TikToks now. It's pretty great. I'll be honest.
And yeah, I can watch all them things you send me.
That's right. That's right.
And
well,
so
and
get the questions to us.
Yeah,
we'll ask them. And
go ahead and like and subscribe and share the podcast, because when you do that, that pushes it out to other people, but it also helps you find it as well. So make sure you go ahead and do that.
And it's not every day that you get some of these people on that we're able to get on. And your PVA, I don't ever recall seeing a PVA being open to the public's questions like what Rhodes is going to be tomorrow. So that's pretty cool.
No, in fact, I messaged him last night and I said, I have to verify that you said this is okay, that you're really going to be on the show, because you might be the first PVA ever to be on my podcast across.
That's what he told me when I called him yesterday.
So, he did. He absolutely said he would. He's actually looking very forward to it. Will and I have known each other for a long time. He is a great guy. And I look forward to that. Anything else before we jump off today?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, for Craig Blanton, I am Kyle Thompson. Join us every single day right here at Apex News Above the Noise. Thanks for joining us. We will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night.